I believe that we have on the phone with us Tori Parrish from Newsday. Hello, Tori.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Wow, very good to talk to you.
You too.
You have quite a story here. This is going to, or does, affect so many Long Islanders, and we don't usually get to see behind the curtain with what's going on. We just see the stores close and the new ones open, and you really have this. When I first saw your story, I thought you wrote a book.
Yes, pretty long.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. You really, it's an eye-opener. Anyway, I'll let you tell the listening audience what's going on with that.
Well, so I wrote this story. It's kind of an outlook for what's expected in 2019 on Long Island as far as retail. I cover retail for Long Island, for Newsday. Is there anything opening, closing, relocating, being acquired? I cover it. And so this story was just taking a look at what's going on in retail on Long Island for this year, as far as the grocery store changes, which we've all heard about. Department stores are closing, and discount stores are growing. And then as far as shopping centers, trying to get more of a diversified mix of businesses in there and not just retail. They're looking for stores that aren't as susceptible to online competition, such as gyms, restaurants, medical offices, like your trampoline type of kid type places, those types of stores, businesses.
It makes a lot of sense. Do you think, there's been a rumor going around, or there was a questionnaire? I live on the South Shore, and in the Sunrise Mall, they're talking about putting in an aquarium. And when I read your story, I said, well, there's a business that doesn't have competition from online. If you want to use an aquarium, you got to go and see the fish.
Yeah.
You can't, order some fish or something online, and so you don't get an equivalent experience anywhere but going to that location. Do you think is it mostly just online competition?
It's online competition. It's also a lot of these companies have this is me reporting what experts say. I can't give my opinion, but what experts tell me is that a lot of chains are overstored. You've seen it. The store, one chain will have a store in every corner. You just have too many stores, right. And right now they're trying to right size the number of stores. So you have that, and then you have online competition, and then you have stores that just took on too much debt, like Toys R Us. It was a combination of factors that are closing these stores. And even just this past holiday season, we were out reporting. I was out reporting, and you've seen in past years where on Thanksgiving, stores open and people it's like a stampede of people getting into stores. That didn't happen this year. I don't know if you saw on TV.
Yes.
It wasn't that crazy pandemonium you've seen in past years, because people don't need to do that anymore. Well, not only are the stores spreading out their sales throughout the season, but you don't have to be in the store to get that sale. You can get that online. Right.
Well, personally, I always thought that kind of, what was that, the day after Thanksgiving?
Black Friday.
Black Friday, right. To me, that seemed more like a, oh boy, I don't know. It was kind of like a come-on thing rather than... did people really need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and be at a store at 5 a.m. waiting online to get one item for $15 cheaper than they could get it the rest of the month?
No, some of it has been just being part of the crowd. Everyone else is doing it, so I want to be a part of it. Just almost like peer pressure, but for grown people.
Yeah.
So some of it's just, I don't want to be left out. And then some of that, people were just thinking, if I don't get it today, then I won't be able to get this TV or whatever it may be. But you can get those sales all through the season now. This is not me giving you my opinion. This is what experts tell me, that stores have gotten better at spreading those sales out throughout the entire season.
Yeah. I also wonder if did they feel an increased liability when they had 2,000 people lining up at their front door, and they were going to open one door, and this mass of humanity was going to come through it. Do you think?
I'm sure they did, because there were lawsuits. Walmart, I think Walmart got sued. People died.
Well, yes, exactly right. And for a situation that, from my looking at it, didn't need to exist in the first place.
Yeah.
It seemed more like it was like selling lottery tickets or something. It was a created
You think it was a created pandemonium?
A created
like a manufactured pandemonium.
Right, to make, whoop-de-doo and look at here and, we're selling this. It was for attention, I think. Like, hurry up, you got to get up and get dressed and go shopping.
Mm-hmm.
At 4 o'clock in the morning. What do you mean? But there is so much here in your story. What else? The other thing I find interesting, a lot of these, like the supermarket, they're owned by other countries.
Yeah, so you have Lidl, and that's how you pronounce it. A lot of people say Lidl. It's Lidl. It rhymes with needle.
Mm-hmm.
They're German-owned, and they are buying. Actually, they finalized the sale of the purchase of Best Market. So they bought 27 Best Market stores, including 24 on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Stop and Shop, which is owned by Ahold Delhaize, and that's a Dutch company. They're buying King Cullen's 32 stores and King Cullen's 5 Wild by Nature stores. That deal has not finalized yet. So that's 2 European companies that are, breaking into the Long Island market.
Right.
Actually, yeah. So actually, Stop and Shop is already here, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
The Stop and Shop is owned by Ahold.
Okay. The other thing that you see is, are any of these I think you said that Stop and Shop, you weren't sure if they acquired the King Cullen stores, were they going to change them? In other words, is the King Cullen brand name going to disappear? Or are they going to turn them all into Stop and Shops? Or are they going to leave some of them King Cullen?
Well, Jeff Metzger, who's publisher of Food Trade News in Maryland, and he's a Wantagh native, thinks that will be the case. Based on what he's seen before, they're going to change the name.
Okay.
When they take over a chain, they change the name. They redo the stores. He did say that some King Cullen stores might be in better shape than nearby Stop and Shop stores. So it's possible they might close a Stop and Shop and keep a King Cullen open. But he thinks that the name will change.
Right. Well, on the island here, we've had a lot of, I guess you call it gentrification of towns. And it seems, and this is just anecdotal because it's from my head, but it seems as though it's mostly restaurants and bars. And the clothing stores, or if anyone tries to open a clothing store, they just can't seem to handle the rent.
Mm-hmm.
So that certain kind of business in many towns is the only one. And I've kind of wondered, when is that bubble going to burst? I mean, can you constantly expect, I guess for restaurants, maybe you can. Can you constantly expect the crowd to be coming in, and or is it going to be something that eventually goes the way of the rest of it? Everybody's betting on them. That's what I mean,
Yeah. I don't know about when the bubble will bust, but I know that restaurants are feeling the pain too. I mean, this is just from my reporting, talking to chains. A longtime restaurant, LL Dent, which is in Carl Place, is closing after, I think, 13 years in business this month.
Oh.
Great Southern food restaurant. I saw that Swirl Bliss, which is a frozen yogurt franchise, is going to be closing. I think they've been open 6 years. So I think for small businesses, it's just, and restaurants have a high failure rate anyway, but for small businesses, this is what I'm hearing from them, that the rent is high and it's a struggle, and the taxes.
Right. Well, those are the same issues that everybody struggles with.
Yeah.
So there's, okay. Wow. And how about the difference between how malls are doing and either freestanding stores or strip stores? Is there a difference in?
From my experience, not my experience, but reporting when I wrote another story similar to this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The shopping centers are having a harder time with this. So shopping centers, I just got some new numbers from Reese, which is a real estate firm. The shopping center vacancy rate on Long Island in the fourth quarter of this year was 7.5%. And that's the highest for the second quarter since 2000.
Whoa.
And this is among shopping centers that are between 10,000 and 350,000 square feet. Now, the U.S. vacancy rate at shopping centers is 10.2%, which is the highest since 14. So the shopping centers seem to be, and those kind of 10,000 to 350,000 seem to be bearing the brunt of that.
Right.
Malls, I don't know, maybe the malls have already had their shakeup, but shopping centers are getting hit the hardest now.
Right now, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean,
and I think it might be because they have big box stores. They're those big department stores, like your Kohl's and your Toys R Us and whoever else is the Sears and things like that.
Right. So, but any store not doing well in, let's say, a shopping center is also going to bring down their average.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what do you think the future holds as far as availability of brick and mortar stores in general?
Well, I talked to a real estate agent for commercial a few weeks ago, and he said one possible benefit, depending on how you look at it, is that retailers that have not been able to get into like prime locations because the rent was so high can now get into those locations because there's just more openings. So you might see fewer stores, but you might see also more of a diversity of stores. Maybe not just your high end. You might see more mom and pop or more stores that you might not have, types of stores that you might not have seen 10 years ago because they couldn't afford to get into those certain areas.
Right. I think near me there's actually a small shopping center, and the dollar store is a stellar tenant. I mean, the parking lot is always full. There are always people in the store.
They're bringing 3 here. If you looked at my story, Dollar Tree is about to open 3 stores here.
Yep.
What to say? In Farmingdale, in Huntington, and in Riverhead this year. And then Five Below, which is a store that kind of targets teeny boppers with like gadgets and accessories.
Right.
I'm reporting 2 in this story, but since I wrote this story, I found out 2 more Five Belows are coming. Wow. So there'll be 4 Five Belows opening on Long Island this year. Discount stores are really flourishing, really doing well, because even though Long Island has a higher than average income, people here still like their discounts. They still like a bargain.
Yeah. It's an eye-opener, too. Go into a dollar store and see what you can actually get for $1. And
it's not just the stuff that you wouldn't want 10 years ago. Then Dollar Trees have actual stuff that people actually want. I mean, back in the day, it was known as a place you could go and just be, I don't want to be mean, but trash.
Yeah, right. Well,
that's not the case now.
No. Personally, it's the dollar store is my new card store.
Oh, gift cards, gift bags, tissue paper.
Yeah. Yep.
Candles, flashlights, batteries.
There were too many times when I turned the card over and I'm buying a card for $5. My goodness.
Yep. And now they have groceries. That's another reason dollar stores are growing, is because they have a growing grocery section and they're competing with grocery stores now.
Yeah. Now, do you think any of these grocery entities are going to, like Stop and Shop, they're buying all the King Collins, so now that's going to raise the amount of stores they have. Do you think, what I'm driving at here is I'm thinking about the antitrust laws, and if in fact, let's just say it was a Walmart kind of entity that was selling all of us our local food, we would be beholden to one entity for the supply of our food in this area. I don't see that as a good thing. Not that that'll ever happen, but I can go down the aisle in the grocery store and look at 5 different kinds of cleaner, and if I look closer at the box, I realize they're all made by the same company, which doesn't bode well for competition, that's for sure. Do you think the supermarket idea could go that far?
As far as
consolidating,
there being a monopoly?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you bring up a good point about the antitrust laws. I'm not sure. One issue that I was asked about was prices, because I was thinking, as the average person might think, if Stop and Shop, they're already here. If they're buying more stores, that's less competition. But I'm told that with Lidl coming in and Aldi is really popular here, it's actually going to be better for prices because prices will become more competitive. That's something to find, because Lidl is a discount grocer, as is Aldi.
Okay. But my point is kind of like, though, so you see a Bob's grocery store, and then you see an Ed's grocery store, and you see a Mary's grocery store, but unbeknownst to the local customers, they're all owned by one conglomerate. So it's kind of the same as the soap suds down the aisle. Yeah, they're 4 different packagings, and they have different blue powder and pink powder, but they're all made by Procter & Gamble. Yeah. And I really am wondering if sometime in the not-too-distant future that could be the same truth for the grocery outlets that we have.
That remains to be seen, because with King Cullen, that's the last major family-owned independent chain on Long Island.
Whoa.
is King Cullen.
Wow. Whew. Wow. Okay. Well, that's kind of scary. When is this? Was this actually in today's paper? Your story?
It's online today. It'll be in print Sunday.
Sunday. Okay. All right. That's for our listening audience, so they can take a look. You got a lot of information in that. It's a great story, and if I had more time, I would talk to you about it.
Very interesting. I love covering retail.
Yeah. It is very interesting, and it bodes. It speaks volumes about things in general, just to see what the retail outlets are doing. Money wise, but in any event, Tori, I'd like to thank you very much for calling us and talking to us today.
Thank you. Anytime.
And keep us posted.
I will.
Okay.
I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
And, of course, we want to thank Newsday for letting the reporters call in and talk to us.